Hey, gang, this is Carl White broadcasting out of the secret headquarters of the mortgage marketing animals, and it's time to get naked. It's time to get naked. So, that is the title of this episode of the Loan Officer Freedom Podcast, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers. It's time to get naked, and my co-host on this episode is the ever so talented and lovely Mr. Robert Fillyaw. How you doing, brother?
Good, Carl. Thanks for having me on, man. Quite the surprise on the topic. You said we were going to roll into it without telling me what it is, and I guess we're getting naked today.
Yeah, so Robert has no idea what the topic is. I reached out to him a couple of days ago. Hey, man, let's do a podcast episode, and so I'm doing something I've never done. I thought this is going to be an interesting topic. So we're calling it "It's Time to Get Naked." So here's what we're doing, Robert. Um, I want us to share our biggest screw ups, our biggest mistakes, uh, what we learned from it, if anything. How do we prevent it from happening again, or do we? Or, dude, I can't believe I did it again. I did the same thing again. Right. So that's our topic for today is our biggest screw ups. So it's time to get naked, man.
Wow,
We're just gonna make ourselves vulnerable here.
I like it.
We're gonna a couple rules. We're not gonna mention names. We're
Okay.
not gonna mention companies. Like we're not gonna throw rocks at anybody or anything uncool
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
And but we're just like our biggest blunders, our biggest mistakes. I think I want to make this like a competition, almost like a, oh, you think that's bad.
Uh, uh,
Wait till you, yeah.
okay.
So
Here we
yeah,
go.
I thought it'd make an excellent episode. So that's what we're going to do here for the next 20 or 30 minutes. So
This is going to be fun because I got plenty.
I've got a good handful too. So you want to start or you want me to? Who do you want to start?
uh, I'll go first. I'll
All
go
right.
first. All right. Biggest screw up? We're just talking business, right? Because
Oh
we,
yeah,
we
yeah,
could
yeah,
we could
yeah.
be here
Yeah,
all day
we're gonna
personal.
leave the wives. We're gonna leave the wives and
Yeah.
kids out of this,
Yeah,
right?
Lace will be phoning in. Remember that time?
Yeah.
Um, biggest screw up. One of the biggest screw ups I think that I have made that I think I finally learned from, but I did make it over and over and over and over was paying too much bonus or guarantee money in the recruiting process.
Brother.
Um, Especially as I look back as we were coming out of 21 and kind of into 22 and not having the foresight of what we wrote some hefty checks. I'm talking 30, 40, 50 grand checks to people who came and there's one never even pulled a credit report. Like, wish I would have never done that.
Oh, so you're talking about like hiring loan officers. So you're a branch manager
Yep.
over at HMA Mortgage.
Yep.
I know you're one of the senior partners over there. And so in your case, you're talking about writing bonuses to loan officers to come work with you. And boy, you wish you hadn't done some of those checks.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
I hear you. Yeah, the other thing I've noticed on that topic is I've noticed that my best loan officers didn't need the bonus because the bonus is really a short time
Yep.
little boost. I'm always looking for the person that doesn't want to be a blip on the radar. They're looking for like massive growth. Um, I've always thought the really smart people, that might be the wrong word. I'll stick with that just for a second though. But the really smart people go after the long money, not the quick short money. And the quick short money sometimes is done by those people that are looking to get in and out, just maybe not intentionally, but like they don't believe in their own
Right.
self and their own process. So I like
Yeah.
that. Well, I think I've got that same. So that's on my internal list.
Okay.
Um, Except in my case, it would also apply to production staff, or let's call it production staff.
Same. Yep.
That Yeah, I put people on um, percentage of revenue,
Uh,
and boy, that that that
that
that
can get expensive fast.
that can get you. And you know the problem with it. I tell you the problem with it. The problem with it is we don't know. We can't imagine how big something can get. And I know when I did it, I used numbers that I thought, well, at this number, it's a pretty good deal, for both of us, right?
Right.
And but not knowing how big something can get, yeah, I've learned to put a cap on things, or you know what I found? You know what I found, man? I found that 76% of all people have a high S on the disc profile. And what that means is 76% of the people, most of the people, three-quarters of all people are more interested in stability rather than the gamble
For the upside.
of getting a percentage of commission. And I think I used to think everybody thought like you and I do, because we're commission based, right? We're willing to take the chance. Some months we have good months, some years we have good years, and frankly, some months we don't, and some years we don't. And you and I are okay to take that gamble. Um, Most people would rather not take that gamble, and they'd rather have a very fair, um, like salary or
It's that compensation.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean I don't want people to get to understand. Like, I'm not saying to be greedy, but what I'm saying is take that extra money and put it in reserves for the company so that you can provide not just that one or that two or that four or that five employees stability. That if we have an off year or 2 years, that we have reserves in the company or in the branch to survive that hard winter or that hard season, and not having to lay everybody off, or I've seen people go under. You and I both have seen
Yeah.
entire companies go under. They simply didn't have the right reserves. And so it's not an act of greed, it's an act of stability. It's not that I want to put all that money in my pocket, but I want to put that money in reserve. So I think we're kind of on the same page on this. Is when we're having those good years, keep in mind that $1,000 is still $1,000. And again, I believe in paying people very, very fairly, but not beyond what is good stewardship. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a super timely message also, Carl. Like, if the last couple of years have taught us anything, it's that there's no such thing as too much reserves, right? Like, that we can start
Brother.
there.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I was just having this conversation with one of the managing partners at HMA as we're looking at stuff, right? Like, in so it's very timely because we don't conceive how big something's going to get, and then you commit to something, you look up, and we honor our commitments, right? We're those guys, and you
Yeah.
look up and it's like, wow, um we kind of we kind of stepped on it a little bit. So timely message here for sure.
Yeah. All right.
This is interesting.
I'm gonna give you my worst one
Okay.
that I can think of. And boy, I've had some doozy. This one was just a special kind of stupid, right? This is so bad that when I think about it, I don't even like to think about this one. It's very painful. So I was doing business with a credit union, and I was getting all of their referrals because they didn't do mortgages,
Yeah.
right? So they did car loans, boat loans, credit cards, personal lines of credit, things like that. But they didn't do any. They didn't do mortgages at all. Oh gosh. And man, they asked for nothing in return other than, give good service. So I wouldn't have to pay for anything, or there was nothing under the table or anything like that. I've never believed in doing things like that. In fact, whenever they would have lunches, hell, they'd pay for it and invite me, right? So they loved what I did,
Yep.
because if they didn't refer to me, they didn't want Bank of America, and I'm not picking on Bank of America,
Yeah.
but they didn't
Chase
want the
Wells,
local
whoever.
bank. Yeah, they didn't want to get the local bank to their customers to use them for mortgages, because then they would, being an excellent big bank or whoever the bank is, they would also get their credit cards and depositories and and all their other loans too, which I did none of those. So I was a zero threat. So for them, I was a safe place to park their customers, and I'm not going to steal them. Well, so there was one lady over there, and I'm going to call her. I'm going to a fictitious name. I'm going to call her Debbie. I'm just going to make up a name here, right? Just a wonderful lady, right? And we became very dear friends, right? Her daughter was a realtor, started doing business with her daughter, just really good people. And then, so Debbie, the mom, the head honcho of the credit union, saw all the loans I was doing. Brother, I was doing hundreds of loans. This credit union was a credit union for a hospital system, 7 different hospitals in the area. And so these are great borrowers. These were doctors, nurses, respiratory
Yeah.
therapists, house cleaning crew. Like these are W-2 solid people, and a massive amount of them. So Debbie calls me up one day and said, Carl, I see you closing all these loans, man. I know you're making a lot of money. Maybe I ought to come work for you. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. Why don't you come over here work for me? And then we'll continue marketing to the database over the credit union, and you can be the loan officer, right, and benefit from this. So that's what we did. Well, we sent out the first letter to the credit union database, and we get a cease and desist from the credit union, who was none too happy that I hired Debbie. And suddenly this thing where I was doing like dozens of loans a month, I was now doing 0. And poor Debbie, she had been working over the credit union for like 15, 16, 17 years, very stable job, right? They loved her over there, except when she put in the notice and came work for me. And so now I had Debbie, and I lost all those loans, and I didn't have a good thing for Debbie to do. And after about 90 days, I said, Debbie, I can't, this, oh, dude, it was so bad. I had to let her go, and because I had no work for her,
Yeah.
because I just lost what my main source of loans, which I learned a couple lessons from that. Number one is a very scary number. If you're getting most of your loans from one source, man, that's really scary, because, oh, I don't know, you might do something really stupid like hiring somebody over there out from under
Right.
them,
Yeah.
and then they cease and
That
desist
faucet
you.
turns off.
Yeah. Um, and so, I just felt horrible for Debbie, because now she's out of a job. I can't afford to pay her to do nothing, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm scrambling around. So this is very early in my career, and we were very good friends, right? I mean, she was a personal friend of mine, and the lovely Mrs. White. And oh, that just went really bad. That was just really, really, really bad. So I learned from that to never, ever, ever hire somebody that's from a source, or even a buddy. And I've just because some of the stuff we do, Robert, that if ever I'm getting ready to do, hire somebody that maybe used to work for you, or you're getting ready to hire somebody that used to work for me, we'll call each other up, say, hey, I know they don't work for you anymore, but a year or two ago they did, and I'm thinking about, are you cool? It's kind of like the old back in high school. Hey man, is it okay if I date your old
Right.
girlfriend?
Yeah.
Is that And if you
She's
say no,
calling me. Can
man,
I talk to her?
yeah,
Yeah.
and if you say no, man, it's hands off. But if you
Yeah.
say yeah, it's oh, okay. Well, it's yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a very painful lesson. And I heard years went by, probably 10 years, and I never heard from Debbie. And I was having my car washed at a car wash not that long ago, a couple years ago, and I saw her over there, and I went, oh man. Well, God put us at the same place for a reason, is my belief system. So I went up and said, Debbie. She goes, hey, Carl, Debbie, I am so sorry on how that turned out. And she was very gracious, and said, well, she ended up getting a job back at the credit union, and
Yeah.
and it all worked out okay. But that had to have been the stupidest thing. Dude, I lost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not literally millions of dollars of income, because it's likely that would have continued up to this day. And this was like 15 years ago now, and it's likely it would continue going on to today. So for sure, I lost millions of dollars of loan revenue from doing something very, very, very uncool. So I did something uncool. and I got spanked for it,
Hmm.
and I learned from it, and I don't do uncool things anymore. You got
Well,
it?
that story, Carl, I have heard before. And if it's any consolation, I learned from your mistakes and avoided something similar because of that story in the past, and took it a step further and have used that story as a platform to coach the LOs that work with me to go and establish relationships with the credit unions and some of the smaller community banks that don't do mortgages and
Yeah.
never cross that line. But I've actually that story kept me from making a hire from a real estate company when we had an admin position open that we got business from. That looking back, if I would have hired it, it would have totally decimated the relationship with that real estate company. And I thought of you when I can remember the conversation with my operations manager, and she had applied. This individual had applied, and I'm telling them, no, Carl had a situation like this one time, and he did it, and it totally destroyed the referral relationship, and we're not going to hire her, and here's why.
Yeah. So
So
you told him, let me tell you what this idiot buddy of mine did.
yeah, let me tell you about this one guy. So any consolation that
That's zero
I learned
consolation, by the
from
way.
your
Zero.
mistake.
That's zero
I,
consolation.
fair, fair enough. But listen, honestly, like this, I think this is really cool that we're doing this because hopefully others out there are listening and
Yeah.
can learn from some of the missteps that we've made, and it can help them avoid something similar in the future.
Well,
Right?
one thing that I found is I have found I only learn from my failures, not my successes. And I tell you something else I found is I have a lot of small failures, right? And I've only got a few big wins. But I have found that one big win out trumps 20 small failures. That I have found as a general rule that my Debbie story is probably not one of them, by the way, but as a general rule, my failures, they really don't cost that much.
Right.
That like they'll cost me a referral source, or maybe they cost me a good employee, or they'll uh, maybe somebody has been letting me come into their real estate office and teaching classes over there, and maybe it'll cost me. But and it doesn't make it okay. But there's more. Like it's like, dang it, screwed that up. God darn
Right.
it. All right,
Go get
learn from
another one.
it. Yeah, I won't do that again. And then I just go get another one, and taking that lesson with me. And so the failures I have found as a general rule didn't really spank me that hard. Like it was I learned from it. But it like the failures haven't been that bad, and the big wins have been massive.
Yeah. Huge.
And so I think the thing that holds most people back is that, which is kind of why I want to talk about this, is the thing that holds most people back, I think, is the failures. And I think what they don't realize is the failures aren't generally that bad. And
I would agree.
when we take action, we get a win. The wins can be massively huge. The upside of the win is way more than the downside of a failure. So, anything else on your side? Like any other big
Yeah,
mistake?
and it ties kind of into your Debbie story because it's personnel related, and also what we're talking about on the failures and the wins, because I think what it comes down to, and we're in that realm, Carl, is really taking the chance, like being vulnerable and putting yourself out there to achieve whatever that success you're looking for is, right? Whether that's making your calls or having the courage to make a change in your company, add that loan partner, whatever it may be. It's that courage to take the risk that leads to the massive success. And you're going to have some little failures, but the success far outweighs it. You and I have both experienced that. So this next blunder that I made is kind of in the realm of all of that. This was probably like 2018 into 2018-19. Market was okay, not great, right? There's a guy that came to me that wanted to get in the mortgage business.
Okay.
In the car business, this guy was a grinder, right? Like he's a hustler, like he's the guy. Like you can see it, right? And I do the same thing I do with everybody when I'm approached. Hey, how do I get in the mortgage business? Well, you need to go get licensed and then come back and see me. That's standard. I'm not telling you how to get licensed, what you do. Like you got Google, go get licensed and call me back. So he did. There's only 2 people that's ever actually done this. He's one of them. Came back, ready. He wanted a salary, and I let this salary that he wanted keep me from taking the leap of faith with this guy that I knew he's got it. And I let the salary, because we were still in the red in the branch. Like, there's a lot of details into it, but I let this salary and the fear of paying it keep me from taking the leap. And I had this whole plan. Hey, he had another offer with a salary. Hey, go take that. Go learn, make your mistakes. When you're ready to take the next step up, call me back, and we're gonna move forward. So he did it. I'll be damned if when it was time for him to take that next step, he didn't land with one of my biggest competitors and absolutely destroyed it. Like, just crushes it. This guy's just crushing it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like,
Dang it.
dang it. Dang it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you had the opportunity to buy Amazon stock. Somebody come
Right.
and told you about it, and you didn't buy it, and then it's like, dang it.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Dang it. And every time I see a closing, run into him, I'm like, dang it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah. Let's see. I think my next one, it's not really a blunder. It was more of a strategic blunder or a strategy that I thought worked out okay, but it ended up not being worth it. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And I think a lot of people are making this blunder today. I see it. In fact, it seems like it's more popular than ever. And that's going to open houses on the weekend. So, brother, I spent, especially when my kids were growing up, I spent a fair amount of time on the weekends sitting at open houses. And now that I know what I know, boy, what a mistake that was. Number one, I'm not with my family. Mistake number one, right? Mistake number two, oh, sure, I wrote some loans from it, and I'd have a relationship, with that agent that I'm sitting with, during that time, business relationship, of course, with that agent that I'm sitting with at that open house, and we would pre-approve some of the borrowers and we'd close some of the loans. What I didn't know is that I could hand out a sign-in sheet to like 10 different open houses for the weekend, have those agents, have the people fill out the sign-in sheet, and then Monday morning they would all have them all take a picture of the sign-in sheet and text it to me, and then I spend my Monday and Tuesday mornings following up on 100 or so people that signed into these open house sheets. And I found that the way to get real estate agents to fill them things out is to convince them of the truth that I'm going to follow up on those things like green on a pickle, and I'll turn more of those closings into I'll turn more of those open house leads into closings for that agent, because I am going to follow up on them. And now I'm not just doing one, I'm doing 10. And I had the weekend off to spend with my family. So everybody won.
Yeah.
Like I spent the time with my family instead. I would get more leads because I had 10 different agents doing it on the same weekend. And the agents would do far better because I'm following up on all 10 instead of just one. So I think, thinking that I had to work the weekend because, boy, things are tough and you got to do what you got to do, and equating hard work with smart work. And that, I'm not saying not to do hard work, but don't confuse hard work with smart work.
Right.
So like if I'm wanting to cut a tree down, I can work real hard with a blunt axe,
Right.
or a hammer, trying to chop down a tree with a hammer. I can work really
Yeah.
hard at that.
Yeah.
But come to find out, if you get a sharp axe, it'll you get a whole lot less sweat and a lot more firewood,
Yeah. Or a
kind of
chainsaw.
thing. Or even better, a
Yeah.
chainsaw,
Yeah.
or even better, hiring somebody with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, not for nothing, that's one of the probably quickest takeaways I got from the Freedom Club when I joined back in 16. And one of the things we implemented the fastest was to stop working on the weekends for myself and
Mm.
my team. And you know what, man? It cost us a few deals here and there. Um, and I can think of one realtor relationship that it cost us.
Yeah,
My business quadrupled
Yeah.
and I had weekends back with my family. And now that my kids turn 14 next month, like those weekends, there's no price you can put on that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So not
And
for nothing, your blunder helped me learn,
yeah. And
and it made a change in my life.
and I've just heard rumor, right? And I'm keeping this PG, but I've heard rumor that when we're at home on Saturday mornings and not an open house on Saturday mornings, you know,
Yeah,
Saturdays can be an interesting day, right?
yeah,
It can be
can be a lot better start to the weekend.
a lot better start to the weekend, the famous Saturday morning routine, So
Absolutely.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's see. Let's come something else. What's something else, man?
So one other thing that comes to mind that's a mistake that I made often, and I think that I've learned from this in hopes that I have moving forward, but it's a blunder when we're partnering a loan officer with a loan partner for the first time.
mm,
And the mistake that I made is all of the focus for me in the past would be on the loan partner and making sure that they're doing this, which is important. Where I miss though is there's a lot of training and a lot of coaching that comes in on the loan officer side with them buying into the loan partner piece and actually starting to let go of stuff.
yeah,
And if you don't do it right, I had a number of loan officers that we would bring in, and I put them with loan partners that are basically a rocket ship, and these guys are used to being on a bicycle,
yeah,
and they just weren't ready. And as a result, they bucked the whole process, and I'm just going to keep it, and then they don't want to let anything go. So what I've learned is you gotta kind of ease the loan officers into that relationship and letting things go over time, not just all at once, because they'll grab it back and try to hold on to it. I made that
yeah,
mistake a lot, and it caused frustrations with the loan officers that I brought in, and then none of us are getting the results that we want. And so I think I have it figured out now to where we don't do that anymore, but I'll probably mess it up again at some point, and
yeah.
have to revisit it.
I got another one. It's more of a generalized thing though, because I can think of a hundred different instances of it, or at least dozens and dozens. And waiting to get ready,
Mm,
waiting to get ready. And I think where that comes from is I'll finally be worthy, or I'll finally be enough when I blank. So as soon as I can blank, then I'll be enough that I can call Realtor Robert. Call Realtor Robert's got it going on. And so I'm gonna go practice on, you know, somebody that's not actually doing business, or I'm reading up on the next guideline, or I'm studying the next script, or I'm looking at the next widget, because I'm not enough yet, but when I go get this widget, then then I'll be enough. After I like so many posts on their Facebook page, then then I'll be enough. Then I'll be worthy of making that phone call, and always searching for that external, I'm finally I've finally arrived kind of thing, or that I'm worthy of the conversation. I'm worthy of the success. I'm worthy of hanging out with the likes of Robert Fillyaw. Um, yeah, I'm not quite ready, but soon as I get this, soon as I go to this class, soon as I do this thing, then I'll finally be enough.
right.
And waiting to
That's
be
a
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that goes back to like it's funny how so much of this stuff kind of goes hand in hand and is connected on some level, right? Because that goes back to taking the risk and being comfortable with putting yourself out there and not being scared of the failure. I think, um,
Yeah.
that's what it is. We all have insecurities to some level, and it's just overcoming those. And I mean,
How'd you overcome them? How'd you overcome it?
I mean, I still try every day, Carl. Like I still
Yeah.
have stuff where, I get intimidated or insecure, puckered up a little bit, call it what you want. It's just you have to make a conscious decision every day to do it, and not be scared of the no's. You say it best: the more no's we get, the more money we make. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I mean, it's more comfortable every time that you do it. It's another thing that I talk to my loan officers about and people about, like this is like going to the gym or running a marathon. You're not going to go out there and run. We have this all or nothing mentality a lot, right? When we're trying to do something or implement something, back, getting ready. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. Like pick up anything worth doing is worth doing badly, right? Like pick up the phone and make 10 minutes of calls. And then tomorrow make 15 minutes of calls. Like it's better than what you did when you made none.
Yeah.
Right? I think of RJ Baxter a lot in his story, right? Like
What a nice guy.
what a great guy. Scared to death to make the calls, right? And he started with one call, like literally one call. And then he'd go to 2 calls. And now he just absolutely crushes it.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember. It was either him, it was either RJ Baxter, just super nice guy, or another guy. I just love this guy too, Spencer Stott. And it was one of those two guys where they hired a VA to do nothing but make sure that they made their calls. And so what they did was, this was so neat, man. But this was before we did the call stars thing, that he hired a VA and he would do a Zoom meeting with him and the VA, and the VA would sit there and watch him make his calls for 2 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if he didn't start the Zoom, and if the VA didn't see him making his calls, that VA was to call his coach and report him that he's not making his calls today.
wow.
And so he paid this VA like $5 an hour. So it'd be $10 for the day for 2 hours.
Yeah.
To making sure he's sitting there, doing the proactive loan getting activity. And if not, he gets reported to his coach. And I don't know, I guess the coach was going to waterboard him, waterboard his puppy dog or something like that if he didn't do it. But very, very, very effective, So it's
do you know what impact it had on his business?
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. I know both of them are doing really well, but yeah, it was
You
huge.
you and I share the same the same experience with this, Carl. I've never seen the DSP not work. I've never seen, if you do it, I've never seen it not work ever.
Yeah. What do you think? So DSP is a daily success plan, which is the step-by-step system that myself, Robert, and probably by now thousands of loan officers across the nation are using. What do you think holds most people back from doing the data success plan, which is loan getting activity? And instead, let me go research guidelines one more time, because then I'll be enough. Like, what do you think? What do you think holds people back from doing the prospecting?
Fear.
Yeah.
It's fear.
What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of, do you think?
Well, I think it varies. I think, some people it's fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people it's fear of self-worth. Like, am I enough? Some of them it's fear of I've got the business, now what, right? Because maybe that deal equals just more problems they're going to have to solve because they've got some backroom issues or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately it comes down to fear on one level or another, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right, man.
That's where
Hey, so
the black pants come into play, brother.
Yeah.
Put them on and get it done.
Yeah. So what he means by the black pants? We have this saying, fear is peeing in your pants. Courage is doing what you need to do with wet pants on. And which means that everybody has fear. Everybody has fear, and we wear black pants so somebody can't see that, we got wet pants on, right? Obviously tongue in cheek, but it's I find that so true. So well, I think have we been naked long enough here?
I think so.
I think so.
We got some good ones out there.
Yeah, I like this. It's I think that the thing I wanted to get across to people on this episode is so Robert, you're very successful in what you do, right? You've made a ton of money in this industry, and it's not because you did everything perfectly, and the same in my case. I probably did more. I don't know. I was going to say I probably did more wrong than right. That's an exaggeration, but it's not a, man. I made some big ones, right? I made some big ones, and but it all works out. You just keep showing up, you keep doing the deal. That's like we're watching Marie and I, the lovely Mrs. White and I are watching this. It's on Apple, and it's the Tom Brady story. which is absolutely fascinating. So it's a series following him. And on, I think it was his first game. So Tom Brady replaced the quarterback Bledsoe.
Hmm.
I can't remember what's Bledsoe's first name.
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe, yeah.
Hmm.
So Drew
Who was
got
a good
hurt.
quarterback in his own right.
Oh, he was $100 million
Yeah.
quarterback. So
Yeah.
his contract was literally $100 million. And this is going back in like whatever 2001, when $100 million was a lot of money. Like
Right.
not like it's not today, but so dude, this is like 25 years ago when $100 million was $100 million, right?
Yeah.
And so Drew got hurt, and Tom came in, and the very next game, uh, Tom threw a whole bunch of interceptions. I think he threw like 3 interceptions his first game. And when Drew was cleared to come back and play, and they decided Tom was going to remain the starting quarterback, he again, that game, I think he lost the next game and threw like 3 interceptions again and just did terrible. But he just kept showing up. He'd go out there on the field and he'd just practice, practice, practice. And he didn't slow up throwing the ball. He learned from his mistakes and went out there and did it again. Of course, Tom, likely the
Not likely. He's the GOAT.
yeah, he's got more Super Bowl rings on his hands than he has to wear 2 hands.
Yep.
And if he went swimming with all those rings on, he'd go straight to the bottom because I think he's got what is it 6 or 7?
I think it's 7. I think it's
Seven,
7.
seven super. That's right, 6
Yeah.
with the Patriots and one with
Yeah.
the with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And it shows his mistakes that he made, but he just kept doing it. So good stuff.
Persevere.
Persevere.
I think I talk about this with my loan officers all the time as we're doing something that gets a little difficult. I think about that cartoon, right? And it's the 2 guys in the mine shaft, and the one guy's just getting after it, and the other guy's quit, and like another 3 foot in the gold or the diamonds or whatever is there. And I'm like that, you just got to keep going.
That is so true. That's exactly what it's like. So, hey, Robert, somebody wants to reach out to you. What's a good way to do that?
Yeah, you can get me on my cell 352-665-1302, text or call. And then always you can email me, rfillyaw@hmamortgage.com. Anybody that needs anything, I'm open book, happy to help, dive in.
Yeah. So Robert is a very humble guy, one of the great branch managers that I know in the entire industry, and I know a bunch of people. And there's some great branch managers, but Robert, boy, I tell you, it's you set the bar high, my friend, and
Thank you.
I'm humbled to be able to hang out with you and oftentimes in my own branch, I'm going, well, look what he's doing over there. If he's doing it, we can do it. And so
I probably stole it from you to begin with. Like,
yeah. So anyway,
the journey. I was talking to someone the other day and talking about this journey that we've been on. It literally started with me coming into the Freedom Club, and it's just exponentially changed my life, Carl. So appreciate you, man. Love you, brother.
I love you too, my man. Hey, if you want to get when you're ready to see what the daily success plan looks like, we'll share it with you on a 45-minute one-on-one call. Just go to dailysuccessplan.com, dailysuccessplan.com, and we'll map it out for you step by step of exactly what to do, what you do each day. We'll map out like the perfect week in the life of a high producing loan officer, and you're just absolutely welcome to take what we give you and implement it alone by yourself, or if you want some help, we'll be happy to talk to you about that too. But dailysuccessplan.com, dailysuccessplan.com. So Robert, my man, I love you, brother. We'll see you at the next Freedom Club meeting. Actually, coming up here in a couple months. So we're looking forward to it, man.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, and great to see the great things that's happening over there at HMA Mortgage, man. You guys are you're shaking up the industry, and you're doing it in a very good way, my man. So it's couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
Just getting started, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next. We'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.